Hello, welcome to another episode of the Out of Spec Podcast or Out of Spec Dave channel. Where's this going, Dad?
Well, I mean, I'd like it to go up on the Dave channel.
You know, the audio could be the podcast, and then the video could be Dave.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may as well post the audio to the Out of Spec Podcast. So if you're not subscribed on Spotify or wherever the heck, Jordan, where do we post our podcast stuff?
All major podcast platforms.
So this episode is about my dad who just came here to Colorado to take delivery of his Macan electric, my mom's Macan electric EV thing. And is this the problem podcast? Is this everything that's gone wrong up to this point? Is that how we're going to phrase it?
I think what I'd like to do is just bring the audience up to speed on exactly where we're at with the Macan. We're super excited about it, but it's been a bit of a process, and right now I'm a little bit. Angry is probably not the right word, but a little bit concerned about some things that have happened since we placed delivery, on this car. And I just want to also kind of bring everyone up to speed on why we took delivery here in Fort Collins and why it took so long to get here, and some of the things that, people are saying, oh, why would you deliver a car to Fort Collins if this is, your wife's car? Why wouldn't you just get it in Connecticut? And people are saying, oh, don't let Kyle abuse the car and, all these things. And I mean, look, Kyle.
Well, too bad. Too late, actually, because I already took it shredding in the canyons with you yesterday.
Yeah, you did. And I that was kind of very capable car, by the way. A little tail happy.
Yeah, very drifty.
But I think it's important to understand that, look, our son Kyle is a professional car reviewer, and we wanted to empower him to be able to, spend some time with this variant of the car, right, which is the Macan 4. He's lucky enough to have spent some time with the Turbo recently, and he wanted to do a lot of the range testing with the 4, having the 20-inch wheels and sort of the range spec, if you will. So we placed the order for this car back in March. Actually, I'm sorry, early May, just after the New York Car Show. The car was finalized and built on July 8th, and it actually left the port very quickly, and it was in Freeport, Texas, on August 18th. And it took just under 3 months for the car to get from Freeport, Texas, to Porsche Fort Collins. And that was a very frustrating process because I was unsure why that was the case. And what I found out was that it needed a hardware part, and it also needed a software update to be able to empower over-the-air updates. And so I was like, okay, whatever. So we figured we'd have the car in maybe late September, right? If it takes 2 weeks for the car to get, that's a long time for the car to get from port to here in Colorado. Then it was like, okay, maybe early October. And then it was kind of like November-ish. And that's when I made a video with Kathy and I said, hey, I don't know what's going on here. And I did some research. And Freeport's a brand new port capable of processing over 120,000 cars a year. And I would imagine the logistics of having that done to be able to put cars out was a problem. But Kathy and I, we were down in Naples, Florida, and just went into the dealership down there, and they had 3 or 4 2024s on the lot, and the next week they were getting a 2025 in inventory, is what they were told. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Why does this dealership have cars and also the green Macan, the Turbo that you guys have had? Why do they have that car? So bottom line is the car ended up leaving the port, and guess who did the over-the-air update and the hardware fix? Porsche Fort Collins.
It was not an over-the-air update.
No, it was not an over-the-air update. But what I'm saying was the software update that needed to happen, from what I understand, was to empower the fact that now the car could do over-the-air updates. It actually was for like on a USB stick.
Mm-hmm. But then there was also like physical recalls, right? For like a power distribution box or something.
Yeah, they called them campaigns, not recalls, formally. And there were 4 or 5 different campaigns for the car. Our car only was impacted by one of them, which was a power module of some sort, which is fine. Listen, it's a brand new car. Things are going to happen. So anyway, Kyle got the car super late. And as he's super busy, as are you, Coleton, and and so I had the opportunity to come out here. This is Thanksgiving weekend now, and the idea was that I'm gonna drive the car back starting today. So unfortunately, a lot of the things that Kyle wanted to do with the car and the range testing, and although you were able to do a lot of the things like the what do you call that? The challenge up the mountain, where it does all the curves.
The lane assist, the hogback challenge.
Yeah, the hogback challenge.
But we did that with another.
No, I'm saying
car.
you did that with another Macan, so you didn't really need to do that with my car, or with Mom's car.
No.
But unfortunately, I'm driving it back today. Okay, now fast forward. Coleton takes he takes the car. And why don't you describe what you did with the car, and then I'll describe how I felt after watching that video. Mr. Detail.
Well, I think Kyle and I both told you probably to not watch this video, but I mean, in all honesty, I'm a very nitpicky person. I think to be a detailer, you kind of have to. So we asked Porsche of Fort Collins to not wash the vehicle, not do their pre-delivery wash, which is something that I used to do when I was working with said dealership, when it used to be Ed Carroll Porsche, Audi, and Volkswagen. And yeah, so we took it back to the shop.
Well,
gave it
also
its first
nice of
wash.
them to not wash it.
Yes, of course.
And they even put it in the showroom without washing it for us.
I think Adolf was a little frustrated with that, but it's like, I mean, I've had customers like that, they're getting a brand new 3RS in there and they say, hey, I don't want it washed. I want it sent to Coleton or another shop to get paint protection film, whatever the case may be. So it's not like something that doesn't happen. This is very common with Porsches. So we take it over to the shop, give it its first wash, get all the adhesive off of it. I mean, first off, the crazy thing is Kyle was saying how dirty it was. He could not believe it. And
yeah, mostly on the interior.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like the interior looked like it had been like when you are on a dirt road and it's like fall and leaves and crap. Like it was all just in the inside. The seats had black marks on them.
Sure.
Like the leather looked like it was a 10,000-mile car.
And by the way, I just want to point out, no fault of the dealerships here.
No, they would have cleaned all that.
Right, they would have cleaned all that. Right.
But it was us asking for a fresh car because I think it's important for people to see how these cars actually come in. So we give it its first wash, start doing the paint inspection, which is something that I truly care about. I think Dave is not one who's like as OCD as I am about, new vehicles coming in. And I think that's really 90% of the population who doesn't really care, but there's a lot of people who actually do care. And so we, get all the adhesive off, get it washed, and then we start looking around, and my lighting setup in my shop is designed to look for defects. And I start walking around the car and I'm like, holy cow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Basically all from the transportation white plastics they put on it. And I think, that's one of the biggest things. Dave and I were talking here off camera beforehand, that it's pretty frustrating. You're spending, almost $90,000 for this Macan. Now it's got to get to the point where it almost needs to get, it does need to get wet sanded to get really perfected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the term you used, moon crater, kind of like, and then I understood why you said don't watch the video.
Yeah.
So what I've learned after watching the video is that when the cars are painted over at the factory, it takes time for that paint to cure and dry and get almost like a hard shell on it. And your theory, or maybe your knowledge, is that what's happening is they're putting that white protective plastic covering on the car to protect it in its journey over here to Fort Collins too soon. Can you explain what the ramifications of that are?
Yeah, so I think, the biggest thing there is, of course, they're trying to protect it. And I've got a big backstory on, how cars from Volkswagen Audi Group have been transported and the damage that is actually behind that. But my theory is they're not letting the paint cure. They're putting these plastics on there. And it's like, they're not trying to get it perfectly smooth like a vinyl wrap or a paint protection film. So you get naturally, when they're just throwing these things on there, you're getting basically some bubbles, or we call them fingers, and, vinyl and PPF industry. And what they're actually doing is you have glue on there that's sitting as an impression in the paint, and it actually naturally has tension on it. So I think it's a little bit of the paint's very fresh. It's also, you're getting moisture on there. These cars are being shipped over the sea. It's very humid, very moisturized out there. And you have all these factors playing into it, and you get these impressions in the paint. And this is not something that I've been seeing like brand new. This has been going on for years with Porsche. I mean, I would work on brand new GT3 RS's, carbon hoods and things like that. I'm having to sit here wet sand them to get all these impressions out. And arguably, I would say for, over $250,000, these cars should be near perfect. But in my experience, the more you spend on vehicles, the worse they come in because they try to do more at the factory.
So do you think that the fact that the car sat in a Houston hot sun, under the sun for literally 2.5, almost 3 months with that plastic on the car, do you think that contributed to the fact to this sort of indentation in the paint, or do you think that happened because within the first 3 days of it being on there?
I think it's very much yes and no. I don't think it made the problem better. I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah.
But no, I've been working with brand new vehicles, especially Porsches, for a long time of my detailing career, and we would have cars come over freshly built, get to the port, boom, all the systems working perfectly. You get them up here, tear the white wrap off of them, and you have the same exact marks on it. So I don't necessarily think that was the root cause of it, but I don't think it helped for sure.
Well, so just to be clear, we decided to lease this car, and it should not be, I'm not worried about it because we leased it. It's not the one we're going to own. Quite honestly, we're leasing it for 39 months. So when we talk about the contract that I had with Kathy on the Model Y, that wasn't a real contract. This is a real contract. But still, you want to be proud of your car. I don't believe that even with my eye, Coleton, you in extreme detail, and that's your job. You're a professional. It just kind of hurt watching that video because you would expect if you're spending basically 2x what a Model Y, costs. And again, you can compare them, but you can't, right? There's a lot of intangibles and tangibles between these two vehicles. But I've seen you. You just came out with a video the other day about the rear-wheel drive Model 3. Was that
Yep, that was Jordan's
that was Jordan's car, right? And you were like, holy smokes, the paint job on this car you said it was amazing.
It was a lot better. I mean, we didn't go into paint detail. I didn't really look for defects because I've done so much with Tesla. I'll be honest, I don't think Tesla's paint is even close to as high quality of Porsche.
Right.
I think, though, that these transportation issues they're having with this is causing some serious problems down the road.
Right.
And this is not something that's, Volkswagen Audi Group's been doing this for a while. We would be at the dealership, they used to put these huge white bags on, Q8, S4s, whatever it is, and we would have cars come in with paint literally taken off of them from the bags that were meant to protect them. So this is a problem they've been dealing with forever.
Yeah. So, all right. So look, we're going to let this slide because I don't think my eyes will be able to detect it. And I'm pretty confident that, Kathy's eyes won't. She's excited to feel the massaging seats. Let's be honest here, right? So, but there was another thing that, well, first of all, it only took the dealer, I think, a day, maybe a day and a half to fix, the problems that was sitting at the port for a long time. So I would just say that from a logistics standpoint, if there's anything Porsche could do to, improve that and get the cars out into the hands of the customers a lot faster, that would be great. All right, now let's move on.
Well, one more thing, too. The car was damaged in transport, which is not unusual.
Not unusual.
But they replaced the front underlip after it arrived.
Yeah.
So the whole front splitter piece, that got billed back to PCNA.
Right.
And then, so that's fixed.
I was actually surprised to hear that Porsche here in Fort Collins was able to source that part so quickly.
Me too.
Knowing that it's a brand new car. Right? A brand new model. It's not like these parts are. So I was thrilled that they were able to do that. And, and look, things happen, right? We all understand that. It is a really big front lip.
It is.
I mean, the thing is a solid, 3 inches wide. Interestingly enough, a lot smaller if you get the off-road pack. For the Macan, it's narrower, which actually increases the angle of entry and departure in the front and rear. The splitters are a little bit different in the rear as well. But anyway, so now the exciting time. We got the email that said, all right, it's time for you to download the My Porsche app. What was so funny was this morning I'm looking for the Porsche app on my phone and I'm looking under P. And I know I have the app on there, and I can't find it. We were out to breakfast with Jordan and Alyssa and Kyle, and it's not under P, it's under M for My Porsche. So like, all right. It's
Okay.
like,
I don't know why they do that.
I don't know. I don't know
really
why they do
curious.
that. They made it just too complicated for me, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, we had an issue now where I was trying to activate plug and charge. Right. So this is something that is a nice to have. And the car's been designed to work with Electrify America and as a plug and charge. But on my phone, I kept getting a fault. And so yesterday when we were having lunch, Kyle, if you could just tell the story as to what happened there.
Right. Well, we wanted to get plug and charge on the car, of course, and we thought we needed the main user account and app, which I think we do. So you were there.
Mm-hmm.
So you were there with the car, and the car says it needed like a Connect service activation. So we went into like 50 menus deep and found that all of the charging services are activated and good. And on the both the car and the phone both fault whenever you try to turn on plug and charge. And I'm like, somehow we need to get this certificate to the car. And each brand does it differently. Coleton, when you did your Volkswagen, we did a video on that. You go to the EA app and you somehow select it, tie it with the Volkswagen app. Do you remember how it wasn't super convenient while doing that?
Actually, it was very easy. I got
Was
an
it?
email
Okay.
one day of saying like, "Hey, your
yeah.
ID4 is getting plug and charge," and I'm like, "Well, ID4s are not known for getting, OTA updates." So I go into the EA app. It has my car in there. Click one button, boom, and it's like, okay, Volkswagen that is not known for software here is doing this better than Macan. What
That's
the heck?
right. It was easy. And with the Macan, we were stumped. And I called one of my friends who works for Porsche, works for like PCNA, and is responsible for Macan in many ways, and like should know all this stuff. And he did, absolutely, very knowledgeable. And apparently, it's a bug that they can't activate plug and charge sometimes. So there was like a couple different troubleshooting steps. We like force quitted because it's all running on Android. So you can force quit the charging services and it'll automatically restart. That didn't make a difference. Tried a few different things. And we basically left with the conclusion that if we factory reset the car, which there's like multiple accounts on there with hours of setup work because there's 5,000 menus to select. If we factory reset the car, maybe it will work. That's where we left off.
Wow. I mean, I feel like the culmination of Volkswagen Audi Group with all how many platforms do they have right now of their cars that do it all differently?
Yeah, so many.
It's like the ID4, it's just, it pops up, here's plug and charge ready to go. You have a brand new, PPE platform. Okay, but now their strategy is so all over the place.
It's
and
just
I think
market adaptations on how we're doing it, plus the complications of Cariad, plus the Porsche people themselves working on some things. And what it leads to is like not a cohesive driver experience. This is a car that a normal person would just go to a dealer, took delivery like we did, and then expect to have plug and charge at a dealership. When you buy a Tesla, you just plug it into the supercharger. That is the benchmark. What needs to happen is there, and it's not having to call your friend who works at PCNA to then say factory reset the car. That's so stupid. It really was like, we got out of the car. We're like, man, we just went back like 10 years.
However, I was like, okay, no big deal, right? Plug and charge. Kyle showed me how I could activate EA on my road trip home.
Right, you don't have to use the EA app. You use the Porsche app.
Yeah.
And you get your free charging.
Yeah, so
It's 1 year of free 30 minutes, right?
correct. Yes.
And then what's nice, though, is if you want to retain plug and charge, but still get the Pass Plus pricing, they let you spend some amount of money per month. I can't remember exactly what it is in the app. It didn't seem astronomical, but it seemed higher than $7 a month, I think.
I think it was 8.
I don't know what it was, but it seemed like if you want to retain plug and charge and once your free charging is run out and still get the cheaper buy down rate, you can do that, but then you have to pay Porsche more money.
of course.
Yeah, I didn't even care about that. I didn't even try to comprehend that. All right, so anyway, we go to sleep last night. We charged the car to 100%. And I've been getting to know the car. I've set the car up. I'm asking Kyle so many questions. He's like, Dad, please leave. He's ready for me to go.
But some of your questions are pretty basic.
Okay, well, guess what? I'm a consumer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if my questions are basic, then
You know what really drove
everyone's-
me nuts? Even before trying to set the car to 100%, you go in the app and they finally have like a global slider where you can raise it, set it to whatever percent you want, but you have to hit, I know you did that. You raised it to 100, but you didn't hit send to vehicle.
Oh, that's a Volkswagen Audi Group thing.
Yeah, they're trying to reduce the number of communications between your phone.
What do you mean
and the
send
car.
to vehicle?
Yeah, once you do something, if you set climate temperature, if you do anything, there's another button you have to
You have
hit,
to send it.
which is to send that to the vehicle.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm used to Tesla,
right.
and it's so easy. Not complaining, by the way, not complaining, but
No, I'm complaining. That's one extra
It's
step.
terrible.
Yeah.
it's
The
odd.
ID4 was
That's
the
odd
same
to me.
way.
All right, so
So anyway, I looked at the app and noticed you did not set it to 100, and it's its first ever 100% charge,
Right.
in this car's history. And so I said, you want to make sure it's all good. So I was monitoring it. It only has a 40 amp onboard charger, not a 48 amp. Also in Europe, they only have 11 kilowatt, not 22. So eventually, I think we'll get a 19.2 80 amp in our market, and they'll get a 22 kilowatt there. But it's also just like PPE's been delayed, and these things need to be dialed. And I can nitpick all day long about any
Sure.
car.
yeah, I mean, I hear you, Kyle. I'm not really all that concerned about the level 2 charge speed because, like, you come home from work at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. It's done either at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, if if you really need to rely on level 2 in order to get to your next destination, which hopefully that won't be the case during this road trip, which is another issue. But, I'm not all that worried about it. Sure, it should do that. I'm mostly concerned about the DC fast charging, and I'm optimistic about the speeds that this car will be able to pull. So a buddy of mine, actually a viewer, in watching our Macan videos up to this, he took delivery of one last week. He's up in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. He's got a cabin up in Quebec, and he's been driving it all over the place. And he saw 281 max charging speed.
Of kilowatts, 281 kilowatts. Oh, DC fast charging.
DC fast charging
Okay.
and an EA. It was 29 degrees outside, and he actually did precondition.
Yeah, so we've seen that in Macans too. They'll hit mid 280s.
Right. And then, but at 50%, he was still north of 200 kilowatts. Whereas like a Model Y at 50%, you're at 105 kilowatts.
If that, yeah.
Right. So, but one thing that Kyle and I, we actually discovered yesterday is that if you do precondition to a destination, there's no indication in the dashboard that you are preconditioning.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what I thought was the case, because I called up another friend who works at Porsche, and I said, hey, do you know if this car tells you? and
Because Taycan does, right?
Yeah, so this is our buddy Calvin, and we
Yep.
all know Calvin. He's been on at least on the Out of Spec podcast before. He's communications at Porsche. He's the best.
Yeah.
And Calvin, I asked him, does it show? And he said, yes, the blue arrow next to the charge reader. So you'll have like your predicted range and then the fueling light, or the charge light. And that's when you navigate with a route, it'll automatically adapt to the route's topography, so you'll know what you'll get. Volkswagens do it, Audis do it, they've all done that. But when you, it tells you when it's using route-based programming logic to give you a good guessometer with this little paper arrow that's blue. Just say like, okay, this is your route-based. Calvin said this is like 3 pixels big on the screen. That blue thing should turn orange when it's preconditioning.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't know if it does or not. At least I've never seen it go orange, even when navigating to a charger.
Yeah, but now to counterbalance that, one of the things the Macan does give you is on the screen, if you select it, is the temperature of the battery pack, which is a great feature. Because what you can see is, for example, we saw the battery pack yesterday, I think it was at 67 degrees Fahrenheit. And if the optimal temperature is, let's say, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, then then you would probably say, okay, that's where it wants to be. So if when you precondition and you put in the destination for navigating to an EA, or really, it doesn't matter what station it is, right?
Right. It should dynamically choose the temperature based off of arrival state of charge and expected charging power.
But in this case, if the battery is colder than what it should be for optimally receiving the highest amount of energy when you plug in, if you see the temperature increasing, then intuitively you know the car is actually preconditioning.
Or you're driving it quickly, or you're at very low state of charge and you have more heat loss because it's outputting more energy. You know what you're going to get there with, but you don't know that the car knows that it's going. That's the thing. Like, unless it says preconditioning, like Taycan, that's the thing. Porsche does this. They say when charging planner is active. And then you know for sure, oh, the car's got it. It's got 30 minutes till I get there, and it'll figure out the temperature. It can cool, it can heat, it's got plenty of power. With Macan, you're just like, I see the temperature rising. Why?
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a challenge with Taycan owners getting into Macan EV with a bunch of existing expectations and use cases that they're familiar with, and then jumping into Macan EV and being disappointed or frustrated?
That's exactly where I am.
Yeah.
And I know, like, our viewers who own Taycans, yes, there's a lot of our viewers that run them to zero, charge them hard, use all the functions of the car. It's still not the majority of the owner base of Taycans. Majority of Taycan drivers just cruise around town and are afraid to go on a trip.
Right.
And, probably 95% charge at home. But the car is built for fast traveling. So it's attracted our type of viewer in the way that we like to use these cars. And yeah, if they get in Macan, it is going to be a disappointment because it doesn't, like, even little things, like it doesn't show you negative % on arrival, but Taycan does. So you don't know if you're at like negative 30% arrival or -2. Whereas in Taycan, Porsche already knows what to do here. They just didn't do it for Macan.
Yeah. So 2 requests, actually 3 requests, one of them off topic. When you can, let's get one pedal driving, but that's another topic for another
Needs to
day.
have it.
Also, it's like, yeah, Macan's not supposed to be the driver's
No,
car.
I mean,
So
and
give it one pedal
And
driving.
the Audi PP does have it.
Yes.
Right. So like,
Q6 has it, yeah.
what the heck? So, I will tell you, seriously, many Model Y owners will go test drive a Macan and they got tons of money and they won't buy it because they're used to that strong off pedal regen, which you can turn on or off now in the Macan, but it's not that strong. It is interactive. It's dynamic. So if it sees a car in front of it, it will slow down and you'll feel that. But if you just come off the pedal, it coasts like an ice car. And there's no one pedal driving. So that's off topic, but if we could get that would be great. Just put it as a toggle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said this the other day. If you can put a fake sound and charge someone $500 to hear engine noises in a Macan
well,
EV.
it's supposed to be representative
I
of
know,
the natural
but I'm just
noise
saying,
of
if
the
the
powertrain.
spirit of Porsche is the driver's machine, and you can do that, because is that purist? I don't think so. So give us one pedal driving and have someone turn it, let me turn it on or off. But with respect to preconditioning and the indication as to whether or not you are actually heating up the battery, 2 things. Number 1, like the Lucid and like I believe the Hummer, you can manually turn on preconditioning.
I am not a fan of manual preconditioning.
Well, I am. I like it because if I want to control
Good
it.
debate topic.
Yeah, this is a whole
Yeah.
podcast because I always feel like manual preconditioning always gets you there at the wrong temperature.
Yeah, but the thing is, Kyle, so what you're doing is you're putting the faith in the software, in the en-route planning, and there may be. I remember years ago when you did a cannonball run in the Taycan, and you could not put in the destination as to where you were going. Am I wrong here? Because the navigation was messed up?
Right. So the only reason to have manual preconditioning is if you have an issue with your normal route planning.
Right.
Right. Which is like, okay, your navigation's messed up, or you're going to a charger that the car doesn't know exists.
If it doesn't recognize that there's a charger there, right? And there's one there, and it's like, for example, the DC fast charger that's here in Fort Collins, which I'm not going to tell anyone where it is.
Everyone knows, but
Okay,
yeah,
it's not on PlugShare.
I mean,
So-
every Uber driver in the area uses it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So it's not at the power station at Colorado State University. It's not there, but you can't choose that in the Macan menu. Anyway, that's one thing. And then the other thing that I think would be really good is just show me that the car is preconditioning, right? So that I know and I have the confidence that it will do that. It's there in Tesla.
But you'd be okay with the little
Yeah, just anything.
blue arrow turning orange.
Absolutely.
If
it doesn't
does
matter.
that.
Just
That would
tell
be
me
okay.
what it is.
Put a message just like how Tesla does it.
Yeah, battery preconditioning for faster charging.
Yeah.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
is that so hard?
That'd be so great.
All right. So anyway,
Well, we're talking about what happened with the car, right?
Yeah.
Where we even get to?
no. So where we're at
we're
now,
right at the 100% charge.
we're at the 100% charge now. All of a sudden this morning, okay, Kathy and Kyle get messages from the Porsche app. Now, granted, I'm the guy that actually signed in and got my Porsche app originally. And I invited Kyle and I invited Kathy. The 2 of them got indications this morning, notifications from Porsche that unfortunately, what did it say? Because I didn't even get it. That's the point. I didn't even get it, and they
I'll
did.
read it verbatim.
This put me over the edge.
Hold on. I've got it. It says charging. Well, first of all, I got a notification 2 hours ago at the time. Charging. The battery was charged.
Thank you.
Was.
It finished charging at 4:58 a.m.
I don't know what was charged means, but
Yeah.
it's not charged now, apparently. And then the next message I got was charging error. Fast charging not possible. AC charging still possible. Please visit workshop.
And this is a brand new car. That's pretty frustrating.
And I'm supposed to drive at 1,800 miles home to my beautiful wife for her brand new car, and I don't even know if I'm going to have DC fast charging now. I know.
And let's just be clear. None of us messed this up because we had never done anything with the car.
That car's never been fast charged, has it?
No, this was it. We fast charged it yesterday. Dad and I had our charger, and it worked fine. And then
Yeah.
it AC charged, and all was good.
Yeah.
But that car only has 120 miles on it. Like we did not get to test it. We wanted to. We did everything possible, but
Yeah.
Jordan this week was crazy, and the weather was bad.
When I got here, the car had 111 miles on it. That's all. So it's freshy fresh. But here's the thing. I know I have earned a new reputation and a new name after the Seattle to Boston run of Out of Juice Dave. Okay. And maybe deservedly so. All right. Having said that, I can't afford to run out of juice on this road trip home.
Well, here's the thing. It says it can AC charge, and there's a lot of AC chargers.
Oh,
we can
thanks.
hear now.
Thanks, Jordan.
that 40 amp onboard charger.
Now I
6
want
days
now
should
I
be
want
okay.
the 22 kilowatt charging in AC, right?
Yeah.
So here's the dilemma. What do I do?
Well, to me, it seems pretty easy. You would take it, I took it to a DC charger this morning to see if it would charge. And at first glance, yes. But I forgot I have a key to the office and I left my wallet at home and Alyssa was there. So she didn't have the key either. So we left the Macan on the DC charger at the office. We jumped in the Cybertruck, went home, came back, 25 minutes round trip because I don't even know why it took so long, but it did. And after 25 minutes of charging, the Macan was at 95%, which is what I plugged it in with. And it had gained almost or over 5 kilowatt hours, somewhere plus or minus 5 kilowatt hours. And from what I could tell, it was just pulling energy from the charger to run battery heater and cabin because I left climate. There's a mode where you can like leave the car on, like dog mode, but it leaves the whole car on
for an hour.
For an hour, yeah. Which is crazy that there's no dog mode, but that's another topic.
I'm calling that dog mode.
but it leaves the lights on the outside the car.
Bailey's gonna. Oh, it does.
Yeah,
that
so
sucks.
if you leave it in the parking lot, like the car's on, it's like
That's
running lights on.
Is
stupid.
it unlocked or is it locked?
I don't know if you can lock it in this mode. I think you can, but the lights were on. When I got back to the office, the car was just sitting there running.
So
what
is
it
this
looked
like a Kia EV9, EV6? You have to go in utility mode type situation?
This is the utility mode.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's so bad. And so anyway, it was still at 95%, but the battery was significantly warmer. So my theory is up to this point, it probably needed warmer temperature to top charge. Just because, as batteries go, the higher you go, the warmer you need it to get energy in there. And
So at a very high state of charge. If it was at 30 or 40% state of charge, you think it would have taken energy?
Yeah, may have already
Okay,
taken
got it.
energy.
Understood.
But the thing is, what was weird was we brought it to Discount Tire to put on your winter tires,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about in a second. But when it was there, it went from 95% to 96%, and that was after driving it to Discount Tire.
And it was unplugged.
And it was unplugged. And that was after driving.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's
Do you
wireless
think-
charging.
Yeah, is that BMS sway in
Don't
there?
trust the BMS.
Yeah, we have a shirt on shop.abspecstudios.com. And that's not unusual because it's a brand new car and it was
Right.
its first charge and it's just learning life. And there's huge temperature swings, which make it really hard for a battery pack to, no resting voltage with external conditions. But it's Porsche and the Taycan is perfect.
Well,
I've never seen a BMS issue on a Taycan.
and your customer is, if you're purchasing a Taycan, you're expecting that, going into a Macan, but it's also like, this is Porsche. Like, they build some of the best cars on the planet, and you've already, starting to see all these little annoying issues.
The car has 100 miles on it, and we've been 35 minutes complaining about it, and we still got more to go.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so
for sure.
Dave doesn't know right now. Does it DC fast charge. The question, that's Kyle's theory. The way to test this is to just drive it for a bit, warm up the battery, then DC fast charge it again or try.
Here's the thing, Jordan. My confidence level right now has been shattered. And I have this theory. I'm a numbers guy, finance guy. If you find one wrong number in a spreadsheet, that means there's most likely other wrong numbers. I've got 2 data points. Forget about the water under the bridge, about it sat at the port, the moon craters in the paint, all right, the lip, all that stuff, okay, whatever. But the fact that this car will not plug and charge, at least now, and it should, and the fact that we're getting these indications that the car is supposed to go to the shop. Is that what it said?
Workshop.
The workshop.
That's very Porsche.
Okay.
German.
What kind of a workshop? Is that a woodworking shop? Is that a
Santa's
psychological shop? What is that shop? I'm supposed
maybe
to
a psychological shop.
Santa's workshop.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
There you go. We did see. Remember, we saw that giant Rudolph today on the side.
Yeah.
That thing
It was
is
like
massive.
25 feet tall.
Oh, I gotta get one of those. So anyway, so I've got a little bit of a confidence shatter. But what I would like to do, I need to make a decision today whether or not I'm going or not. It's 1,800 miles. My first stop tonight would be Des Moines. It's 600 miles. Okay, I can do that in 9 hours plus charging. Call
That's
it
your
10
first
hours.
stop?
Yeah.
Oh, for
No.
overnight. I was
First,
what?
I'm not going to do a.
So
I'm not
much
gonna,
range.
No,
Called
20 miles an hour.
no,
Having a
I'm not going to
lucid
do. I'm going to do a sleeping stop.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to charge however many times. So, but what I need to make a binary decision. Am I going, or am I not? Okay, and so we need to figure that out. Now, let's assume, Kyle, we go to a local DC fast charger, it charges, and I decide I'm going to go. All right.
That would be a great thing.
You want me out of here?
No, I'm just saying it'd be a great thing that the
You hear
car's
this?
not
Yeah.
broken. We don't
No,
want to.
I
I don't
understand
want to
that.
see a brand new Porsche broken.
So there's 2. I'm going to take the northern route. I looked at the weather, and originally I was going to take the southern route because I was afraid of the lake effect snows up by Chicago and Cleveland and all that. And but I think it's going to be good, right? So I'm going to take the I-90, which we were just on, right?
Right.
I'm familiar with the Chargers, and actually the Chargers were great on the Seattle to Boston run, the I-90 surge. So, but the problem is, let's say my first stop, I don't know where it would be, but if I went out by Greeley, out by where you are,
Yep.
and headed west on those local roads, and then picked up 90 up that way, Kyle's saying is that if that, let's say that first EA
Sterling.
station,
So no,
Sterling,
you would,
Sterling.
basically, I don't think the Macan can do Sterling
And
and
back.
back to here.
so if I get to Sterling, which is the
It's a
shortest
charge point station,
Oh, charge point. Okay.
which
But,
didn't work on our e-tron last time I was
Yeah.
there and left me stranded.
all right,
Right.
so I'm going to Cheyenne if I leave here.
Yeah, I would go to
north.
Cheyenne.
Yeah, I would.
I'm going to go to Cheyenne. And where's the nearest EA?
In Cheyenne.
In Cheyenne. Okay. So that's what I'll do, assuming I go. And if it doesn't charge, I'll just come back, and then you got me sleeping in your guest room again tonight.
Yeah, well, which is what the original plan was.
Yeah. And
And then we can actually get a chance to tow with this thing and
okay,
test it.
so
and do
maybe
what we wanted
I
to
should do that anyway, but right now, so and then the second thing is I would like some advice from smarter people than myself about strategy for this trip. You had mentioned to me, Kyle, that I should not be plugging in less than 7% in this car. Can you explain that?
Yeah, this car has a unique charging curve for Porsche, which is it has a narrower window of which it will fast charge compared to Taycan. Taycan, you want to run to 0, basically. Well, yeah, I mean, 10% is where it starts making full power. But this car really doesn't charge fast below 7. Below 7, it's awful. And if you plug in at 0 or 1%, it's just like 30 kilowatts, 40 kilowatts, and then takes a minute to ramp up. And then by the time you hit 7, it's boogieing. So you really want to just target 7% arrivals. And then that gives you a 7% buffer if you're not going to make it anyway.
And that's the Taycan. That's what the Taycan did in the I-90 Surge. They targeted like 8% every single stop. They didn't always hit it, but yeah.
Yeah, but Taycan doesn't penalize you nearly as hard as Macan does. Macan won't charge. Taycan's like 140 kilowatts down to 0. This is like 30.
Ooh. So don't arrive below 0.
Macan has no buffer. I've run it to 0. It goes like actually when it says you have 2 miles left, that's pretty much 0. because like it'll go like 2 miles, then 1 0, it's done.
I'm not used to this. Although I'm getting used to it, which I shouldn't be. All right. And so the other thing that I do want to rely on, Kyle, you've spoken very highly of the on-route navigation and charging plan that is built into this Macan.
I have spoken highly about the speed at which it calculates.
Unbelievable. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
No kidding. We put in from here to Darien, Connecticut, in less than 2 seconds, it spit out all the charging stops, every single one of them, completely done. And what Kyle explained to me is it's sending a message up to the cloud and then sending the message back. So the car itself is not actually calculating that.
It has the ability to calculate if you don't have good service, but it'll be about the same speed as Taycan, which is a little bit slow. Whereas this is instant. And
Coleton,
same with the Audi stuff. They use
so
the same
fast.
service.
I mean, we looked at it before. It was just like snap of the fingers and done.
Yeah. And
Totally planned.
and while Tesla's pretty darn fast, I tend to override Tesla a lot.
Always.
I find that they are super conservative.
Well, they just rewrote the entire thing.
Well, then I got to figure that
Yeah.
out.
Then it's all data at this point.
No, and I have that. I have the new auto. It's really FSD I have in my Model 3, and I'll definitely test that out. But generally speaking, as crazy and as sort of cutting edge and sort of pushing the envelope in a lot of ways, Tesla, I found their route planning to be just, at least historically, has been very conservative. And I like to eliminate charging stops and make my own choices, and I've done that. So what I am planning on doing with this trip back to Connecticut, 1,800 miles, is relying completely on the Porsche navigation and its route planning.
That's a good way
you
to get to
should.
know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so within the navigation system and the route planning system, before I leave, I want you to show me how I can set that minimum or to target the arrival state of charge to 7%.
Well, there's two settings. You can set your arrival at chargers and your final destination arrival. I mean, not like death final destination, but like your final destination in terms of the trips.
You mean like Darien, Connecticut final destination?
So you can have a separate, when you arrive to Connecticut, I want to have 30% because I may not have charging there.
Oh, that's kind of what we needed to do in Boston,
Yes.
or at least what we intended to
exactly.
do, right? Because there was no DC fast charging in downtown Boston.
we needed 5%.
Yeah, like 11 miles away or something like that. Okay, so that's interesting. So you can say let's say there's 13 or 10 stops between here and Connecticut. Each one of them I want to arrive, at 7%, but I want to end up at home. When I get to home, I want it to be at 20%.
Right.
That's nice.
And this will be a really good. You should always do some manual calculations in a new car first to try and figure it out, make sure it's accurate. Always do the does that make sense thing until you start to trust it.
Yeah. Well, the how we like to pop and feather. If you get down to 1%, come off the gas, lower your speed, let it go up to 2%, and then pop it back down to 1%, and play that game. I'm going to be doing that on this trip, Jordan, at like 7 and 8%.
Feather it in.
I'm going to feather it in.
That's going to be a new shirt.
Because
I would never drop speed if you're going to get there at 7.
I don't know.
That's 7% buffer.
You're talking about me here, Kyle.
PTSD.
He's not going to ride below 20.
Yeah.
Dave is ruined. How new EV drivers, they like 20% their minimum.
Yeah.
Dave started there, then got really scared.
Yeah.
now is back to starting.
I just
over.
don't want to revisit an ice machine. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I don't know yet. But a lot of the viewers may not know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I had an Ioniq 5 years ago, and I was pulling into South Carolina at a very ungodly hour of Florence, which is, interesting town. The EA is at a Walmart. Nothing good happens at a Walmart at 1 a.m. in Florence, South Carolina. And I took a wrong turn. And I was on one of those roads where you can't turn around. It had the metal guardrail for 8 miles. And I got off the highway and I couldn't make it back. I didn't realize at the time how much buffer that EGMP platform car really has, and I did have the VPeak adapter, and
Car scanner
app plus VPeak, and I learned so much on that trip. I really think now, looking back on this, I think I probably could have made it to that EA, but at the time at 2 a.m, and I called Kyle, and he didn't pick up. I'm at a Marathon gas station with Bailey at 2:30 in the morning in my Ioniq 5. it was not good. And so that's where there was the only thing that was lit up. The whole place was completely dark, except there was like this. Whoa, there was this ice machine in front of the deli part of the gas station where you buy your Slim Jims and your Diet Pepsi, so you achieve equilibrium. And what happened was, and there were bars on all the windows there, and I unplugged the ice machine, and people got mad at me because I unplugged the ice machine to take the 110 juice at whatever time it was where the store came open.
Not people locally, just people.
No, I'm saying like in the comment section. How
Yeah.
did you go back and pay them for the electricity? Well, anyway, the manager of the manager of the store came. She's like, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? Can I help in any way?" And I told her, I was taking her energy, and please, can I give her some money? And she's like, "Are you kidding me? No." So, like, the realities of surviving. So I don't want to have another incident of...
Man, electric cars sound great after this podcast. I definitely want to buy an electric car.
Yeah. Rescued by ice. We could dig into that pretty well.
Well, that was the joke at the time, was ice rescued EV, yes.
Right, exactly. So anyway, having said all that, I'm really happy about the way this car drives, the way it looks. I'm psyched about the build quality. The seats are incredible. I haven't driven it yet with these new Hakkapeliitta R5s. They're not the EV tires. Can you tell me what so listen, in my Model 3, I've got staggered set of wheels and tires. But we went with a square stance on that car, but on this
For
one,
winter.
For winter. So I got the Hakkapeliitta R5 EV tires, which is, it has the sound deadening foam, plus it also has a little bit stronger sidewall as well. But why didn't we get the R5 EVs on this car?
R5 EVs only come in select sizes, and they were not available in this size.
Okay. So what I noticed on the tires on Mom's car now is it's got 235/55 20s in the front and 285/45 20s in the rear. So staggered set, and they look really good.
Yeah, the tires so like the aero wheels in this car actually look way better in person than on the configurator. Would you agree, Coleton?
Totally agree. Yeah.
But it still doesn't have like an aggressive look at all. But the R5s on there now give it this like winter rally Macan look.
The tread's
totally
sick on these Hakkapeliittas.
Yeah, the R5 has to be my favorite tire, like summer or winter. They're just awesome.
I'm going to run them year round.
Oh,
I mean, I do on my smart car.
A little less power.
Yeah. Don't do that. The handling is severely compromised on R5s. Every tires are compromised. But like even with a bit more pressure in them, it's super sloshy. And coming over here from Discount Tire, I'm just going down the road with some oscillations in the car, and I've got got just so much compliance, and it's hilarious. Yeah.
What's the tire that car came on? Factory?
Don't know. We never did any testing on it, so I never looked.
Interesting. I think
it was an M&S tire, but I don't know exactly which
Continental,
one.
Was it a Continental?
I think so.
Did it have foam in it?
I don't know.
We need to look at
They're
the
in
tires.
the back of the car.
Yeah, we should look at them because I'd be curious.
I bet they do, because whatever Porsche put on the 20-inch wheels is way quieter than the turbo that we had.
Oh my gosh, the turbo!
That was loud.
Shocked. Yeah,
really
the whole
loud.
car, like wind noise, road noise, tire noise, everything. I was like,
see, I didn't really
surprised.
hear any wind noise in the Macan 4.
Oh, you'll hear it on the highway.
yeah.
Okay. But I definitely didn't hear any tire noise with the standard stock tires that came with this thing.
My guess is you'll get a little bit more of that high frequency resonance with the R5. So you'll hear like just some, like if you're driving over concrete, that noise.
Just a little growl in the back.
You'll also just hear tire tread shaw.
Oh my gosh, my performance! The Model 3 is like you pull into regen there, and those poor tires sound like they're just being shredded.
Yeah, which they are.
Yeah,
I mean that's
full throttle on that thing. It just sounds like the tires are going to explode off of it.
Yeah, you only get one season out of your winters because you drive hard. I drive pretty easy, and I can get multiple seasons out of them.
Yeah.
I have them on the Plaid, but I do not go hard throttle in the winter time.
Those will be gone quickly.
Yeah, unless I'm on ice or snow, and then whatever. But yeah, so basically, Dad, the handling characteristics of the car will change, but we had it in the mountains on the stock tires, so you got to at least experience that.
Yeah, I'm glad I hadn't had lunch before we did that run with you driving. So, well, anyway, guys, listen, I appreciate it, and I'm super excited. We have to make a decision as to whether or not I'm doing this road trip now or not. I really want to, because I want to learn the car. And actually, what was also funny, Coleton, Kathy took a lot of she custom ordered this car, right? And in hindsight, the only thing that I think I wish we had ordered was that heads-up display, because when I went over to Germany and I
so
saw that,
cool.
That is
You got to
magic.
drive with it, right, Colton?
Yes, I did in the turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's magic.
It is really unlike anything I've seen before. I know you had mentioned, Kyle, earlier that there were a lot of other cars that have that kind of heads-up display, but the interactive, like the augmented nature of overlaying data on top of what you're seeing and watching it move across the entire windscreen, I've never seen anything like that. It's $2,600, and I think I would pay double after seeing it. It's that good. Now, Kathy, on the other hand, said, I'm not paying that. We don't need that. She wears sunglasses a lot, polarized sunglasses.
Yep, you won't see it.
And so it definitely is diminished. We were out at Electrify Expo, and she actually drove the Macan for the first time out there. We had one with it, and it was definitely not as clear as it would have been. But the other thing that she did not tick the box on was she didn't get the Bose stereo, and the amount of ridicule that she took for that. Like, people at Porsche in Germany, when they met me, they go, "Oh, I heard you didn't order the Bose stereo in your car," jokingly. But what did you think about it when you heard it?
Yeah, I thought it was decent. I mean, I really expected it to sound like a tin can, in all honesty. And yeah, I mean, I felt like it was very clear. It doesn't have like the big boom and bass, of course, that the Burmester or even the Bose does, but I've never been a Bose fan, so I would never tick that option box for Bose anyways.
Yeah, the Burmester's $5,600.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah.
A lot of people say the Burmester doesn't sound good, by the way, but you just have to juice the bass, and then it's perfect.
All
which
audio
is what
systems.
Kyle does.
Yeah.
I mean, but Bose is pretty good in some cars. It's just there's some cars in the past where it's not very good. But a lot of bass systems are good. I mean, my Model 3 bass system, totally fine.
Yeah.
Macan bass system, totally fine.
Which is unusual because Porsche bass systems of the past have been like 2 speakers, police spec.
Yeah.
And now it's actually pretty
Well, they're
serviceable.
having to keep up with the times. And then you have Rivian Premium Audio, which is a whole other podcast.
That's even worse. That's the worst. Oh my god! Although they claim there's supposed to be a software update that's going to fix it.
okay.
All right. Well, listen, guys. I really appreciate your, bringing me up to speed on this, getting my head straight around this. I'm excited about doing the road trip, and we just need to figure out if I'm doing it or not. So,
Well, I think the moral of the story from my side is Porsche has a lot of work to do with the Macan.
Yeah.
It would like they cannot ride the Taycan coattails with this one. They're going
Yeah.
to have a lot of new owners, a lot of Tesla people that are going to step up now that there's finally a Model Y size premium electric SUV from Porsche, which has a great reputation for their electric cars in terms of performance, Taycan reliability early on. Okay, maybe not so much, but it clearly goes to show that if we're having this many issues with the car, and yeah, our job is to look really closely at it, and then the viewer can decide, does this matter to them or not? But there's so many problems that it's least important to take note and to watch Macans into the future.
Yeah, and I was looking at, during the show, looking through Reddit, and it's just a lot of posts on Reddit that are people mentioning the Macan being held at the port, the software issues upon picking it up, the it's not like truly a software defined car, and they're frustrated. Even people from Porsche dealerships put Reddit posts saying this is rough, like this is worse than Taycan's initial delivery, which also had its own hiccups. And it was interesting that some people came to Macan from Model Y because they wanted CarPlay, and then they went back to Model Y because they wanted one-pedal driving. So that was a really interesting. People just, what's their priority apparently?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone cares about different things, of course, but one thing we can say is this Macan launch, it's delayed and it's not smooth.
Yep.
and it's delayed for years.
Yeah, how long has the delay been on that?
I think it was almost 2 full years.
Well, I think what you're also seeing too, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but Taycan was really, the platform, and then Audi made the e-tron off of that.
Yeah,
correct?
Audi bought J1.
Right. So now you have PPE, which is really feels like it's kind of like the Audi version, and Porsche's kind of, trying to make this situation better, but man, they are having some serious issues.
There's certain qualities that are clearly Porsche in the car. Like
Right.
Porsche has a completely different steering system than any of the Audis. Part numbers, mechanical components, different supplier even for the whole steering rack.
Yep.
The Macan Turbo has that 180-degree mounted rear motor. Porsche went through and did a lot of things. And then you go and you look at the thermal management of this car, and it doesn't seem that great because I've overheated it while charging, surprisingly, starting at low state of charge. There's some bug that if you start at like 0 or 1, it will just smoke the battery. But if you start at 7, it can handle.
That's the question I had for you on Charge Curve. You haven't really played around with it all that much, have you?
No, the plan was to have it all dialed in this week. And actually, Porsche is excited to see our results on this. They keep bugging me. When are you going to test this thing? Because the only recording that we have, Jordan, was the turbo, and we smoked the battery. And I'm like, we can't publish. I mean, we're going to show what happens, of course, but I want to show the theoretical performance. But yeah.
Can I I'm now leaning towards not going.
So
sorry, Kathy.
No, I'm saying that because here's the deal. If I stay, and let's say I drive up to Aspen tomorrow, road trip.
Sounds fun.
1-day trip, right? I get to know the car. We can really see if it's charging or not. I fly home Sunday morning, right? I'll be home on Sunday either way. And then you keep the car for another week to do what you want. I know the range testing is not going to be possible.
But the problem is Jordan and I are gone this week because we are driving Lucid Gravity.
Good luck timing.
Yep, so it's just going to be time in here. So it's not going to be you're getting it back in a week. You're realistically going to get it back in 2.5 weeks.
Christmas.
You've already been
No,
waiting.
it'll be before Christmas. I have to be on the East Coast on the 14th.
Oh.
So I would just drive it out there.
All right. Yep. So I got to make that decision. But back to one small point, and then we'll end this. The differences that at least I've come to learn about PPE, for example, what Audi's doing with it versus what Porsche's doing with it. Kyle mentioned how what they've done is they've taken the rear motor and mounted that behind the rear drive shaft, as opposed to mounting it in front of the drive shaft, which is what Audi does.
No. Your car is in front. It's just the turbo trim.
No, not true.
Absolutely true.
No, hold on. Okay, I'm going to challenge you on this.
Jordan.
The reason why Porsche, irrespective of trim level, put the rear motor behind the rear drive shaft is because they needed to leave room for the mechanical devices for the rear steering, which is an option on the Porsche and it's not on the Audi.
So you're saying there's 3 mounting positions for PPE?
There's one mounting position for PPE for Porsche, which is okay. Then you're saying that they mount the turbo motor even further behind.
The turbo motor is flipped 180 degrees.
Okay, maybe they did that, but what I am telling you is that the only way that Porsche would be able to fit the components necessary in order to offer rear steering is to move the rear motor behind the drive shaft.
So I don't remember exactly, but I did a video on this with the chassis engineer.
With the Robert, whatever his name.
Dr. Robert Meyer. No, it was with one of his colleagues.
Okay.
And I did it in France, and we talked about this exact topic.
With the
I
cutaway?
can't remember what it was.
With the cutaway.
With the cutaway.
Yeah.
And you're right. The rear steering gear is in front of the motor, but I think Audi keeps that same mounting position. My understanding was Audi took that same standard mounting position that is used in your Macan, and then it is only the Macan Turbo that rotated it 180 degrees.
So we're not going to solve it here. I may be wrong, you may be wrong, but one of us is right.
Yeah, that's or we're all
somewhere in between.
Everyone's wrong.
And I pray it's me for once. Please let me be right for once.
I guess my only question is PPE more Audi based? I understand they joint develop this, but is it really like an Audi that Porsche is using off of that, or is it Porsche developed that Audi is using?
It depends who you ask. If you ask Audi, it's all them. If you ask Porsche, it's all them.
Okay, interesting. Because like Taycan, I very much felt like
that's Porsche.
Taycan, and then Audi basically is using that.
Yeah, the Audi e-tron GT is just a Porsche with an Audi badge.
Exactly.
I'll throw another thought at you. Third vector. I heard it's neither. I heard it's Volkswagen.
Forcing both of them to use it,
Yes.
basically.
But Volkswagen doesn't use this platform.
I know.
many
I'm just telling you,
platforms do we have?
Volkswagen developed it
They
and the
will.
mothership, and they pushed it out to Audi and
I
Porsche.
don't think that's true.
Okay. Well, there's 2 things we can check.
Sorry, everyone. You've learned nothing.
Right. All we know is that the launch of PPE has been rough. Q6 e-tron, Jordan, you're going to drive that in a couple weeks.
I literally signed up while we were filming the show.
Great. So Jordan's going to drive Q6 e-tron. I was going to go, but after this whole Macan thing, I have like less than 0 interest in going over there. I'm like, I'll wait till one shows up here.
Yeah, it's out in California again, so I'm going to go get a coconut just like we did with Francie. And
yeah.
But you're going to Heidelberg. You're going
yeah,
to
this is Northern California.
Yeah, so I went to this place for the launch of the Prologue and the launch of e-tron, Q8 e-tron. And it's really nice. So enjoy it.
Okay. Great car.
All right, guys. So
Jordan's going to be Q6 e-tron, best car in the world after this trip.
all right. So anyway, I think what we'll do is I'm not sure what's going to happen yet. We're going to have to think about this, but
Tune in next time.
I do want to thank everyone for joining another episode of Out of Spec Dave and or Out of Spec Podcast, depending on where you're listening to this. Coleton, thank you so much for taking your time to take a look at the paint quality. I hear what you're saying. You're in such a unique class. I'm not going to let it bother me.
Sure.
I remember when I got one of my 27 cars over the last 3 years, and you said, "Hey, Dave, what are you going to do to protect it?" And I went down the path with you because I thought whatever that car was at the time, it was going to be a keeper, and it didn't turn out to be.
Sure.
And you had two theories. One, if you're going to do it right,
Yep.
right, and ceramic coat and paint protection film, or do nothing at all. We've had another chat about the sort of maybe an intermediate step, which
Yep.
I do want to talk to you a little bit about. But thank you so much for taking your time to look at the quality. Jordan, I appreciate it. I know you haven't had a chance to drive mom's, my wife's Macan. We're calling it the Mamacan because, it's mom. We call mom Kathy mom because of the kids, but so she's that's the car. But hopefully you'll be able to get to drive one soon because it really drives great, and I love it.